Okay, hello and welcome everyone to a brand new Taqelah webinar. Thank you all for taking time out on a Sunday evening to attend this session. Today we have the privilege to learn from a highly experienced leader in quality assurance, Srinivas Kantipudi. Today, Srinivas is going to share with us about why testing IaC infrastructure as code is a must. Before we begin, a quick note on the Q&A time. Please feel free to post your questions in the Zoom chat or YouTube live comments, and Srinivas will take them up by the end of this session. With this, I pass the stage on to you, Srinivas. Welcome.
Thank you, Abhijit. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is staying safe. Pleasure to be presenting here. Thank you. Thank you, Taqelah Group, for giving me this opportunity. So if I'm not audible or not clear by any reason, please type it in the chat window or any other issues. So I think we can start. It's 4:33 for me, so 7:03 Singapore time. So I think we can start. So before I start, a little bit about me. So I'm Srinivas Kantipudi. I work for Progress Software. I've been with Progress since 14 years now. And I have nearly 20 years experience in the IT industry. Mostly into QA. I started as a developer, but mostly into QA domain. But I tried many roles during my tenure. I did Scrum Master, Product Owner, RTE. RTE is Release Train Engineer. It's a safe terminology. Manager, director. I had had the QA COE, acted as architect for many projects. Different roles, but what I love is like testing is my passion. That's my love. And I love to try out new things. Last 1 year, I'm trying a lot of different things in IaC, infrastructure as code, CI/CD, and all things. So that's about me. So this is the agenda for today. So the main focus will be on like testing the infrastructure as code. Why do we need this and why it's important to test? What options do we have? That's the main focus. But I'll start with a bit of introduction to IaC. I'm sure like most of you might have tried IaC, but just so that it will be an easy connect. If I start with IaC and then go into the testing option, it will be easy. Also, if there is someone who didn't have much hands-on on IaC, this will help. Okay, and then finally it will be a demo. So IaC infrastructure as code, IaC. So this is the buzzword, right? Last few years, like with Agile, we have DevOps, CI/CD, IaC, continuous delivery pipelines. All this, we keep hearing this last few years, especially last few years. So what's this IaC? I mean, this become very important with along with CI/CD and all, continuous delivery, shift left and all that. So what is IaC? IaC is like it's a process of configuring and deploying our infrastructure as code. To put it simple, that's what IaC is. You treat your infrastructure as your application, just like your application. You install it when you need it. You provision. Don't say install. You provision it when you need it. You use it, and then you destroy when you're done. So that's the simple definition of IaC. So why do we need this now? I mean, we are using permanent machines, VMs, since long. Permanent machines or VMs are now AWS instances. But why do we need IaC? So there's several advantages. So when we are doing build and test pipelines now, when we say like when a developer check-ins, a continuous integration pipeline should kick in and then followed by a continuous delivery, and finally you should have a product image that should be shippable. That's what everyone is striving for, right? And when you're doing this, you are like when a test fails, you block the check-in, and that halts the whole thing. So they'll have the tests and everything. The infrastructure has to be rock solid. You cannot have infrastructure issues. So IaC helps there. That's one advantage of using IaC. So how it helps is like you're producing an immutable infrastructure with IaC. Like as when I say immutable, it means like the servers are never modified. Once you deploy them, they're never modified. Even if you do 10,000 times, you will get the same configuration to the exact thing because it's in the code. Whatever it's in the code, that's what you are like provisioning. This way, you'll have accountability also. We never we know who changed the code. We can track back and everything. So that's immutable. And as Martin Fowler says, or his colleague, so a server should be like a phoenix. It should regularly rise from the ashes when we need, and after we use it, should again destroy itself. And the next day, next day, it should rise again. So we have accountability, immutable. That's the gist of IaC. I can give like 3-4 sessions if you have to cover IaC. It's a vast topic there. So let's see what tools we have here in this space. So when we want to provision popular tools, these are some of the most popular tools. There might be many other in the market, and these are some of the tools that I tried on. I tried a bit, not like every detail of everything. So for provisioning, we have Packer, Terraform, CloudFormation, Azure Resource Manager. Packer and Terraform, these are like generic tools that are these are generic in the sense like you can use them to provision any kind of infrastructure, like if you want a Docker image, a Vagrant, AWS instance, some vSphere instance of one of the VMs that you use. So they're generic. You can provision any kinds of infrastructure with Packer and Terraform. CloudFormation is very specific to AWS, and Azure Resource Manager is Microsoft. It's specific to Azure. Right? These are the provisioning ones. And once you provision, if you want to configure your infrastructure, we have tools like Ansible, Chef, SaltStack, Puppet. Chef is now our tool progress tool. We acquired it a month back. I use Ansible a lot. I'm just exploring Chef right now, but they both are very, very powerful tools in configuration management. If you try Ansible once, you never want to go back. It's like so powerful. Like previously, we have a lot of shell scripts, but you can do much more with Ansible. It provides you a lot of flexibility, a lot of control power. So those are the configuration management tools. And when you are using, like if you want your product image or product to be Dockerized or containerized, or any third-party applications that you use. If you want to containerize, you can use like Docker and Vagrant. And with all this, like when you're provisioning the infrastructure, you will need the username, password, right? The credentials for that. So, and that has to be very, very secure. Previously, IT wants everything, and they have some secure mechanism for them. But right now, the engineering teams, the DevOps, everyone is trying this. So we have like Vault for secret management. If you want to store all your passwords, you can store there. Ansible knows. Ansible works very well with Vault to encrypt, decrypt the Vault thing. So that's the tools. Right now you have IaC and the tools. Let me show you, before I go to the final thing, let me show you the sample flows. I mean, there can be different ways you can use IaC. Like I'm showing some things that I know, some things that we use, how we use the flow. So at the top, we have Packer. Packer is like to create a template, the base template, we use Packer. And we have like a plain vanilla template. And we have template without product images, Java, .NET and all. That's one kind of template. And we can template with just product images, several combinations of templates. These templates we build often, like every day, every often we build these templates. and what product teams, and when we configure, we use Ansible to configure the product images and other things. And what like individual teams, Scrum teams do is they take these templates and then they can create instances using Terraform and run their tests and destroy them when it's all done. That's one way. Or they take a plain vanilla template and they use Ansible to install something specific that they need and then run the tests and then tear down. So there are several flows that we can define with IaC, how we should use, depending on your complete delivery pipelines, how you define your pipelines in organization, your requirements. There can be several things here, right? So this is all good. This all looks robust, but and we are using IaC to be more stable. What can go wrong here? So if you have any guesses, I can pause this for a few seconds. So you have a rock solid pipelines, your tests are solid, but what can go wrong? Why are you talking about testing here? Any guesses? You can put it in the chat window if you have any guesses, or I can go to the next screen also. And you can like, I have seen so many frameworks. I have defined like very good frameworks in IaC. So I have seen people like we try it, right? When we try it, I have seen people using configuration management tools for provisioning and provisioners for configuration management. We can do that, but that's not the power. So we have to use it the right way and to get the power of it. So Gaurav says infra may not be set up, so we need validation on it. Yeah, that's one point. So let's see. So when we are doing this, we are using a lot of tools, right? Failure scenarios, if image is not available. Yep, exactly. So what can go wrong? We are using a lot of tools during this process. Packer, Terraform, we are using already, but they require a lot of other small tools to work, right? Like if I'm using Packer to create a AWS instance, it needs like the AWS API. It has to go through AWS API. So it needs Boto3, it needs Python, it needs SSH. So there are a lot of tools that come into the picture. And you're installing a lot of things like product images, third-party applications. You might be needing third-party databases or app servers to test your application. So you're configuring all of them. And we might say I need a Docker instance, AWS. So there's a lot of complexity that we are adding here, which is good, which helps in stabilizing. But there are a lot of things that we are asking here that we are installing, configuring, and all. And the other part is the whole IaC is like a collaboration between IT, DevOps, and engineering, right? IT might say, I'll give you the templates. I don't want to share the passwords with you. DevOps might say, I will give you like common scripts, Ansible playbook, Ansible place. Engineering might say, I'll do a combination. I will contribute to you. So when all three are working on this, so there are three different teams. There's a lot of integration also needed there. We never know. IT might be changing something and you assume everything should work. You didn't change anything, the engineering. So there's so many hundreds of things that can go wrong. So what we are doing is, as a quality guy, I believe in this. All code is guilty until proven innocent. So we are writing a lot of code for infrastructure now. For example, in our company, we have 1,500 YAML files right now. That's a lot of files, right? A lot of code. YAML is like Ansible configuration management. So I believe in this. So we are doing a lot of code, and we assume that everything goes good, and goes without any issues. Like we don't have any infrastructure issues, as Gaurav mentioned. We're assuming that. We're assuming Java, when I say install, it will always install perfectly. I might not have any, like we use package managers or other means. We pull it from Artifactory or other things. We're assuming that everything goes well. Many things can go wrong. A small glitch in the infrastructure things can fail. or like if you change your security mechanism, the vault, it happened in our company, vault stopped functioning. If vault stopped functioning, nothing will work, but all the passwords are there. So let's see what are the tools available for testing the infrastructure code. Or like what do we need to do? Not just the tools, what should be the process here? So the first thing, always follow the best practices, treat it as like how we treat as the whole our product code, treat it the same way. We should have the code reviews because there are a lot of people who are writing this code, IT, DevOps, engineering, and there are a lot of things evolving. There everything is trying out, trying things. So there might be a lot of learning here. So we tend to make mistakes. Code is very, very important for the whole infrastructure code. Make sure to put debug messages. All the tools, they provide you an option to put debug messages so that it is easy. When something goes wrong, it's easy to track. And all the popular tools that are in the market now, they have linters available, right? For Java, we have SonarQube, which is a very good linting option. They provide you the best practices. So all the best practices that we need to follow. So similarly, Ansible, like YAML has YAML lint, Ansible has Ansible lint, Terraform has TF lint. We should use them. Whether when do we use is up to you while developing, while doing a pull request. But they give you some good best practices. They can find out if you are not best practices. And for testing, we have ServerSpec, Inspect, TerraTest, and BATS. So ServerSpec and Inspect are tools to check if your servers are configured properly. That's and Inspect is from Chef, again our tool now. They can test if correct packages are installed, configured correctly. So that's what ServerSpec and Inspect are. TerraTest is for checking Terraform files, and BATS is for Bash. You might have written a lot of bash scripts that you want to reuse, so we have BATS there. The framework. I didn't try it, I've seen it a bit. So those are the testing tools, which is good. We have all the test tools. But what happens is when you're using them, they need, like ServerSpec is from Ruby, right? It's derived from Ruby. So it installs Ruby, and then Ruby needs Python, and so it installs Python. A lot of things, it might pull you to your actual test environment. So that's when these frameworks come in, Test Kitchen and Molecule. These are like, they can test your code in isolation. They're like a complete frameworks. They provide you everything. You don't have to do anything. You can say like, oh, I want a Docker image. Test this on my Docker image. Configure the Docker image with my Ansible configuration files and run this test. And it does everything for you. You don't need to. That's the beauty or power of the frameworks. And Test Kitchen supports all popular configuration management tools that are available, like Ansible Chef. Molecule is specifically for Ansible. And Test Kitchen, as I mentioned, it's like it's from Chef. So these are some of the options. There might be other things. This is what I have tried for testing the infrastructure code. So a little bit on this now. You can see a little bit more. So the first thing is linting, Ansible and YAML lint. So they check, as I said, they check for the best practices. YAML lint, I tried it. It's very, very basic. It was okay, but Ansible lint, I found Ansible lint to be useful. It had like very good rules, some of the rules, and we found out some good things when we used Ansible lint. And this can be integrated with SonarQube. Like for example, so what can happen is Ansible has a command module where you can pass in commands. So if I want to do something with Git or something else, I can use Git and then use that directly. But Ansible has a Git module. If you don't know that, you might be using this way. There's a lot of power in using the modules. It gives you a lot of options. So that's what it can catch. And this is one of the things using latest for install. So when you install something, if you see latest, it always pulls the latest image that's available, whether it's in Docker or wherever it is. That causes some drift, right? You always want to be specific what you want to test on. You cannot say, maybe you have like a maybe you have a scenario where you want to test on the latest, but most of the times it's like a specific configuration that I will test on. So that's on linting thing. That's on linting. It's always good to have lint your code. So, and then the testing part, ServerSpec and inspect, both are derived from Ruby RSpec, if you're familiar with Ruby, which is like a unit testing framework for Ruby. It's a BDD tool, so it focuses on the behavior. And ServerSpec supports all popular configuration management tools like Ansible, Puppet, all of them, Salt, Puppet, everything. So it needs Ruby. So when you install Ruby, it comes with, it installs the Ruby Gems, which is the package manager, just like Yum or the Chocolatey that we use. And if you want to install, you just have to say Yum install ServerSpec and it installs. The initial setup ServerSpec in it, it creates a rake file. The rake is just like a make file. And then you say rake and you call a specific task. Here test is a task, and then it runs the test. That's simple. All of these are very, very small tools, simple tools. They do a specific thing and they do it right. They do it proper. Even if you search for documentation, you might find only just half page, one page. Well, that's all it has, the tool. But they're very powerful in doing that small things. That's the beauty of these tools also. So you don't have to spend a lot of time, like a few hours, and you can get started with any of these tools. That's how we tried it. We started it, and that's on the ServerSpec. Yeah, this is how you write a ServerSpec test. As I said, it's a BDD tool. So you describe the resource file in the ServerSpec, and then you give the matches. These are all the resource files, resource types that are available. So to check your resource, if it's installed properly, if you can run it, if it, you can check the port and other things. This is a small example. We can see it later. So, and test kitchen, as I said, it's a complete framework. It's a complete framework to test your code in isolation, right? It creates the environment for you. You can specify where you want to test environment platform, whether it's a Docker or Vagrant or AWS instance. Then you say like, okay, I have like a Ansible playbook or a Chef cookbook, provision the environment with this. And it provisions it, and then you say, this is my test written in ServerSpec or in spec. It runs the test, and then it destroys. That's all. That's what Test Kitchen does. So I think I have an example. Yeah. So this is how the file looks like. What you do is I say like, okay, create me a Vagrant box. That's the driver. Or you can say, create me a Docker image, a vSphere, EC2. And then this is my provisioner, like a Chef cookbook or an Ansible playbook. This is my provision. Configure this Vagrant image with this Chef cookbook. Excuse me. And then you specify the platform and say, these are my tests, run them on that, and then finally destroy. It does everything. So your test environment is not touched at all. It creates a separate environment, does it all. And when you do it, when you create a Vagrant box, you get a clean box. And if you want to install Chef for Ansible, it requires Ansible and all Python and all things, right? It installs. And then when you're doing running tests, you need ServerSpec, which needs Ruby, needs Python and other things again. It installs. a lot of things that's installed. After that, it just cleans that image and says, oh, everything is working. You can continue with your things. So this has its own use case. Kitchen has its own use case. ServerSpec has its own use case. Yeah, I think I'm talking about the next screen, not this one. So this is the flow for the kitchen. If you say kitchen test, it runs everything. What it does is it first creates, so or you can run kitchen create, kitchen converge, kitchen verify, and kitchen destroy. These are 4 separate commands, or you can say kitchen test, which is a combination of all these 4 commands. When you do separately kitchen create, it creates a box for a Docker image or Vagrant box or whatever you specify, it will create. And then when you say kitchen converge, it converges this image with the configuration that you want. Like you say, like use Ansible, install Java, install .NET, install Tomcat, or Selenium on that. And when you say verify, it verifies it. Okay, is my Java installed properly? Am I able to execute it? Is my Tomcat installed properly? Which port is it running? All that verification you can do. And then finally say, okay, I'm done. It all looks good. If IT has made changes, if engineering has made changes, I pulled everything, I tested it, it all looks good. Go ahead and destroy. That's the whole flow. So yeah, this is the screen I'm talking about before. So there are several use cases within our team. There are like several use cases that we could think of. Like when I'm developing like an Ansible playbook. So and when I try to check in git pull request, then I can have my linting done and I can run my spec test. I can also in my development environment I can run this, but like when I'm like doing a pull request, I can pick all the different things that are there in the git or wherever our source control is, and I can run that. And if you have an environment where you're creating like VM templates, images with product installs or other installs, and then if teams pick them up, that's how we do it. We have like several images defined, and teams pick them up. So before that, we can have a sandbox. We can use kitchen CI, create a sandbox, run tests, destroy, and then do the actual thing. So my test environment is not corrupted, but before teams pick up, we are doing this testing. Every time before teams pick up, we are saying, okay, all looks good. Now you can pick up. If I don't do this, the team will pick up, and somewhere in the middle there, when they're doing something, it might fail because like IT has changed something in the code that was not tested in the integrated environment. That we saw that. That's when we started looking at all the testing options. I think that's what I have. I'm looking at the chart window. Are there any standard tools libraries that provide common verification checks for using commonly used operations for provisioning a software or Docker instance? Common verification. I don't know, Abhijit, as far as I did, I know there is nothing common. I found a lot of examples. I don't know if Kitchen has some examples that they can try, but do they have built tests that you can just hook in things? I didn't encounter, at least I didn't encounter anything that way. What type of test do we do for IaC? Only functional or anything like performance as well? Performance, like if you're creating like 20 VMs, are we able to do it? Like there are things that we have seen like slowness when we are using Terraform, but I don't see any, I don't know any performance tools that are there right now. We have it. I don't know, but we did see some slowness because of, I didn't remember the scenario, but somewhere we saw Terraform, it's doing very slowly. And then we did it in a different way and it's all good, but I doubt there will be any performance testing there. Maybe that's a good point. I can check and see, like, can we measure the times taken by VM? Maybe we can do. Maybe we can have it also, but I didn't try it. Do all teams have to use test kitchen, or only testing team can use the third stage you have shown and avoid rest? Again, as I said, it all depends on the use case. Like most teams might be using ServerSpec. That's what I'm thinking. At a high level, the DevOps team or some integration team, they might be providing an sandboxes like with Kitchen CI that are available just before the pipeline. I didn't have a screenshot of my pipeline, but just before teams pull it, we can have this pipeline. I think one team or one integration team, a DevOps team, can provide this kind of a sandbox environment where it can be tested. And ServerSpec, InSpec are more at the team level when they do it. I don't. Or maybe when we are doing a lot of refactoring, we can do this part. But mostly it's ServerSpec team level. I think mostly it's ServerSpec, InSpec. That's what it comes to. And the whole environment, testing the whole thing as a sandbox can be at one level. That's what we are doing. It again depends on your environment, your use case. Okay. So let's see a quick demo and then we can take the questions again after that. So, okay. What I have here is this is my playbook for the Ansible playbook, which what it does is it just has one role, which is Java. That role will be in the roles folder. That's the Ansible structure. It knows where to find that role. So if I go to roles, so I have this Java role, right? So let's see what it does. What I have is I have a main.ml. It calls the main.ml and it internally checks the platform and calls this. So I have a CentOS system. So what it does is it installs Java 11.0.8, I think, in user Oracle Java. That's what it does. Simple thing, right? So if I go to CD user Oracle Java, I have nothing, right? So so I'll go here and I'm installing this Java using my playbook. I'm calling this Java role, which calls the Java and installs it. Oh, did I miss a step? Okay, that's okay. I can show you. I thought I'll show you first the test and then what I did was my other window, roles, Java. So for that Ansible playbook, I have a simple ServerSpec test that I've written. I'm going and checking if we have installation here, and I'm checking for the installation, and then I'm checking if it matches 11.0.4. That's what I'm doing simply. So here it's installed. I thought I'll show without installing, but this is okay. So if I go here, now I have Java installed. Previously, we don't have it here because all this, I have my Java installed now. So now I go back here and I'm using the reg file that I've created and calling this task spec is my task, reg spec. It just goes and runs my tests and says, I have 5 and I have 0 failures. Let me show you this also. What I'll do is, since I have Java here, it all failed, it all passed. So I'll just remove this. Now I shouldn't have, now I don't have anything here. I see Java. Yeah, I have to go here. So if I do the same thing again, all my tests fail. 5 examples, 5 failures because it didn't find. So that's how we test it. Now again, if I install using Ansible, it should pass. Right? This is simple. This is how like a regular when we are doing everyday things and writing your Ansible script, you can along write your server spec and then check in. That way you have like when you have a lot of files and when you're trying to refactor something, it will help like all your files. So for every playbook that you write, every chef cookbook that you write, you should have the corresponding tests there. Just like your development flow, TDD, write your tests along with it, or write a test and write the code. That's the that's here. That's our spec. So, and then I have my kitchen file here, kitchen.yaml. As I mentioned, what I said was, this is my driver, which means like create me a Docker instance. And with CentOS, this is the platform that I need. And then like this is my playbook, configure this Docker image with this playbook. This is the Java role that we called before, right? That we executed before. And then said like, this is the test that I showed. This is the test that we have. Run this test. These are the 4 commands that that we need to write in the Docker thing. That's my kitchen.yaml file. So I can do kitchen list. What it does is it shows me the instances that I'm like creating. Like this is, I'm doing a Docker. And now if I do kitchen create, if I have more there like Vagrant and all, it lists all that. So now it will create the environment for me. So yeah, this is the Docker image. It gives me the image ID. That's the Docker image, and it has created. I think I have it in cache or something. That's why it's pretty fast. If I delete all the Docker images that I have a few there. So it should pull it from the Docker Hub and then install it, create it. And next step is kitchen converge, as I showed in the PPT. What it does is I have an Ansible playbook to install Java, right? That's what kitchen converge does. So I said I need to run this Ansible playbook, but it knows like, oh, I need Ansible for this. So it goes and installs Ansible. Like I have a plain Docker image. So it installs Ansible. It might need Perl, it might need Python, it might need something else. It gets everything that it needs. I don't have to worry. So that's why I can do it without kitchen CI also, but in a clean environment, but I have to write it down everything. This gives me everything. I just have to say Docker image or AWS instance. Let me show you. It's running. So kitchen converge does this part. This is what it is doing now. It looks at what all provisioners, Java role.ml, and it's installing there. See the user Oracle Java. That's what it's installing. Once it's installing, we have to verify that. So I'm pulling things from our local Artifactory. This is where I'm pulling it from. That's why it's Bedford. So it's taking some time. And it's done. Now it's like installed. If I go like changed 5, failed 0, you can see the status of what all is done, what has been installed. Right now I can go and say like verify. It does the third part. Now verify uses ServerSpec. It needs Ruby. Ruby is not there. So Ruby jumps, all this will be downloaded. So this is the part. I said like use, this is my test roles JavaSpec, JavaSpec.rb. So ServerSpec uses Ruby. So Ruby should be installed, Ruby and Ruby jumps, and any other things, and then it runs the test. And, everything passed. Finally, I can destroy my environment, kitchen destroy. So instead of this, I can just do kitchen test, and it does all the 4 things. Like whatever I did, I can just run it. I'm done, but I can run it. It does the exact same thing. So all you have to do is specify what kind of instance do you need, environment do you need, what platform, and what is the configuration that you want to do on this, and what is the test you want to run. And it cleans up, and then we know everything is fine. Now we can continue. Anyone can pick this up, the whole thing, and then continue the testing. This basically does the exact same thing. Did I miss anything? Yeah, I think that's the basic issue. If you play around, I think you might have some more questions, and when you have more questions, you can ask. But this is like the overview of all the testing things that we have. So that's my demo. I'm open for questions now. So Gaurav, the question for this, we would be needing all these details from development team, all paths and all details where they're installing. Do they put all this in some user story or some deployment plan? Yeah, it all depends on the contract collaboration that you have, Gaurav. For example, we collaborate with IT. IT does help us a lot here. DevOps, we have a small DevOps team, not like a big team where they can help everyone. They do little things, and then engineering does a lot of things also. So it's a collaboration. If IT is okay, we say like IT, we help them also. Like this is the template that we need. This is kind of thing they develop it, or we help them create it. So it's a combination of things. Anyone can pick it up. There are no hard rules for us. But if you say like, okay, there is a specific team who is writing this IaC code, so it's like you can look at that IaC code. Again, you don't have to know the environment, right? You don't. All you need is okay. Go here. So what the team did is they have created a Java role. They have an Ansible playbook. So what does it do? It has one role called Java. It's all like very, very readable. If you know Ansible, it follows a structure. You can easily go. Ansible has like defaults, tasks, templates, wars. This is the structure. So if someone has defined some defaults or variables, I know where to go. So that should be in the variables folder. And it always looks for main.yaml. Share like, okay, what variables did they define? There is nothing here. So maybe they are there in the defaults. So if it doesn't find anything in vars, it goes to default. So see, okay, I have these variables, Java distribution, architecture, and all things. So this is one way how I can find out what is being installed. Other ways, directly I can go to code and say like, what are they installing? Where are they installing? Okay, they're installing in user Oracle Java. This is the installation that they are doing. What else they are doing? It's like not so difficult to understand. This is a little complicated, but usually it's like very easy to understand. Okay, they're constructing the URL here and then appending the version and then doing this. It's very simple. The Ansible, if you want to read the Ansible place or playbook, it's very, very easy to understand. It's not complex. Or like it depends on the collaboration. Someone puts everything there. This is what I have written. A clear documentation and easy. So it depends on your collaboration. Can you before also? Sorry. Failure scenarios, questions, are there standard tools? What type of testing? I think Abhijit or Prem, they can also ask directly, or teams have to use.
Srinivas, we are letting Gaurav clarify more. So Gaurav, can you just speak up? I think you should be able to ask directly.
So okay, before Gaurav, Abhijit has a question. Are there ways to ensure that anyone who develops IaC also writes the tests? For example, code coverage, I had the method for IaC. I don't know if we have tools for Ansible code coverage for Ansible. That's a good point. I didn't see a code coverage tool, Abhijit, for Ansible. I didn't try. I didn't come across. I didn't search actually. So that's one way to ensure, but I don't know. We don't know. That's why we did a lot of code without any testing so far. And then we are seeing the issues. If there is some way, if we can ensure, that's a good thing. But yeah, code coverage is one thing. I don't know if Ansible will come up with a code coverage tool that we can do.
Yeah, Gaurav, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Yeah. So my question was, is it compulsory that test kitchen to be used by all teams, or only testing team can use and just do the testing part?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like it depends on the. So what we do is we create a test kitchen environment that all teams can use it. So one team can create that. It's not like every team have to do it. The individual tests that we write, I think that's the team's responsibility. But like providing a sandbox environment to test it, that can be like a DevOps, integration team if you have, or however it is. So we can have one centralized someone who can be creating these sandboxes, which can be tested as a whole. This is not, I think this is outside of the team. It should be like as a combination thing. ServerSpec and inspec and all that testing at playbook levels or cookbook levels is all teams level. This is at a DevOps level, high level, integration level. That's how it should be. That's
Okay,
what we do.
Okay, one more question I had, like we saw that, like for demo purpose, we saw that whether Java is installed or not. So what are the corner scenarios where we can find problem? For example, if a team is setting up, suppose 2 VMs and one IP, like they do via cloud and all, so we can verify they exist. But there could be some other issues. So what are the some other validation that testing team can do apart from this sanity kind of things, whether things are installed or they are up or not?
So I don't know, like when you kind of like, if you look at the resource type, maybe you will have some ideas like every tool, what are the resource types and matches that they provide. They have details of everything that you can test with that command line. So if you go like ServerSpec file resource type, I don't know if it's not, is it not pulling up? If I say ServerSpec file type, it has like a lot of details on like it exists, it contains cron, have entry. It have lot of matches. You will get a lot of ideas also if you look at what can be tested if I'm doing something like installing. If I want to check for a file, what all can I do? It will have a lot of matches that it gives with all detail. It's like a 30, 40 pages of matches. You will have good idea when you look at them. Oh, okay, I can check for like symlinks or this, I don't know, in the registry, if it's a encrypt. It gives you a lot of things. That's one easy way to check what all can I do there. Is that clear? When you're checking for a file, simple thing is if file exists. So there can be a lot of file attributes that we don't know. If file contains, file have entry this way, default. So you can look at these types and then you might have idea of what all can I check. Is there something that can go missing? Does it have a volume? There's a lot of things. Some might not be applicable, but some are applicable. This way, you'll get an idea on what are the different things that you can do.
Yeah, there's one question from Anand.
Does this IaC code get used for production deployments as well, or only for lower environments? What's the usual practice? So I'll give you an example. Our product, our product, but this can be used for compliance checking also. That some teams does it. Like if you have a production environment where you have specific things to be installed in a specific way, you can write a ServerSpec file. You can do a compliance check on your production environment. Are the things installed the way I want to? That's a different use case to IaC, but that's a very valid use case. That's a use case that many of these tools are also selling on. So you can do that in production also. Compliance is a big thing now, right? Even for production, my production has the right things in place, right software, right anything, any third-party things. All that you can also do with ServerSpec. Very same thing. Like my server, the production system should have Java. It should be symlink this way. It should be present exactly here with this environment, and I should have SSH configured, and my app server should be listening on this port. So you have a port resource type that you can use, and I should have all these registry keys configured. You can do that also. Like that's a different thing, compliance thing, but depending on your requirement, what you want to do, one thing you can suggest also, how are we doing compliance in our company? Can I do with these tools? That's straightforward, easy. Maybe you have some other tools, I don't know, but that's also one use case. Yeah, it's usually we do it for test environment, but it depends on your use case. It doesn't, it depends on entirely depends on your use case. If you're allowed to run some tests, run some scripts on your production environment, which they are safe. They don't do anything. They just test it. They don't install. Yeah, they might need ServerSpec, might need Ruby. So if that's okay, then yeah, it's all good. Abhijit says, IaC has use cases whenever infrastructure comes into picture. Do you have any recommendations with regards to how to organize IaC for test automation that involves Selenium, Appium? Like I kind of, let's say, maybe the previous answer, the compliance part, like you have a test environment. Are you sure you have the right test environment? Are you sure you have the right, if you need Java, are you sure you have it? So before you run tests, can you check your test environment? That's a very good use case, right? I didn't think of it when you asked Abhijit. That's also a very good use, just like compliance. every test environment should have these things before we start running tests. I can easily write a ServerSpec file with that, straightforward, because it has alias. I think it has, I saw some Linux. Okay, so I think we can do that. That's absolute valid use case. I can also check for my organization, but that's a valid use case which you can do any environment. It doesn't have to be. It's the only thing I think is ServerSpec should support that. No, yeah, great. I think it's you can do that. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think there aren't any more questions. Participants, if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask Srinivas right now. If you do not have any questions, and if you are still curious about testing IaC, then you can just reach out to Srinivas on LinkedIn and he'll be happy to answer your questions as well.
Yep.
Okay, then I think this brings to the end of our session today. And I would really like to thank you, Srinivas, for taking time out and sharing your knowledge with us and our community today. And
Thank you.
I would like to thank all the participants who joined today. Thanks a lot. And this was a really interesting talk, and I also learned a lot about various ways we can test IaC. It was quite useful.
Thank you, Abhishek, for this opportunity. Thanks, everyone, for joining on a Sunday evening.
Okay, then thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah, have a nice day. Bye.